Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Guest Thursday on Daily Dose. Nice to see you all virtually, I'm imagining. We are really happy today to have someone who I know a little bit through my arts work and am getting to know better through some other things, joining us, Justin Meidinger from the middle bottom of the state of North Dakota.
Yeah. Good morning.
Thanks for
glad to be here.
Justin.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Justin is one of those people who I think reached out to us because you had seen some content and just wrote to say that it was meaningful to you. So thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You know, one of the downsides to doing this virtually is, like, we know my mom is watching and we know there are 2 or 3 other really diehard fans and we adore them, but it's really valuable to us when someone reaches out and says, hey, you don't know this about me, but this content matters. So thanks for that.
You bet. You bet.
So, Justin, I think we should just jump right into it.
Okay.
Justin is, Justin, we're going to let you talk about sort of where you are on your journey with alcohol and addiction, and you can share what you want.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I've always kind of struggled with drinking, various quantities, times in my life, various issues. You know, there's times where I'd stop for extended periods of time because I was getting out of control. You know, I also stopped during the 2 pregnancies that we had with our kids. So it's always kind of been a struggle. A lot of times I can maintain and do okay. You know, other times the wheels fall off completely. And so as I'm getting older, you know, I'm over 40 now, I'm kind of learning those triggers and what makes the wheels fall off. You know, there may come a point in my life that I'm going to completely have to drink, and it's inevitable potentially.
You mean have to quit drinking, Justin?
Yeah, to quit completely. Okay. You know, it's just because, and the reason I haven't completely is because I don't want to let go of that, because I am fairly well educated in my wines and my whiskeys. I drink IPAs. I like pairing with meals. I like the social aspect of it. You know, so really for me, trying to take control of it. And if I can't take control, then I have to quit, is where I'm at today. So if I can't maintain and just have a glass of wine and a beer with friends, you know, if that means that has to turn into 8, 12 beers every night, then I'm obviously not going to be able to maintain that long term. You know, so I started drinking early on in life, you know, probably started drinking 4th, 5th grade, stealing beers out of the fridge and cigarettes from my folks, heading to the pond with friends and swimming in a slough. And then, you know, just kind of progressed after that, you know, and then it turned, you know, I was always a big partier. We didn't start having kids until my late 30s. So Jamie, my girlfriend of 29 years, and I, you know, we lived in Las Vegas for a while. That was not a great decision. So, you know, it was just constantly drinking every day, every night was a party, you know, through my late 30s. And then we started having kids, and funny how just instantly Jamie turned into a mother and the party was over.
Yeah.
And then it's been a struggle for us because I haven't ended the party completely. You know, up until about through COVID, where, you know, before we went on, we were talking about, I just kind of buried myself into work so I wouldn't have to deal with it. Well, it was also burying myself into alcohol after I get off of work to numb out, to just not have to worry about things too. So I was getting into a lot of self-help stuff, getting into a lot of other audiobooks, podcasts. And, you know, it was just to a point where I'm like, I have to do something different because I'm going to lose my family. I'm having a hard time muddling through the day, hungover every day. Health is not getting any better, being I'm getting advanced in age. Not that I'm old, but
no, but you're not 20.
I'm not 20. And so, you know, it just came to a point where I need to either see what I can do about making my consumption normal and healthy, or have to completely cut it out of my life.
So, I think I told you this too, Justin, but we mentioned this yesterday. You're actually the first person we've talked to who is sort of in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
Which I find so interesting, because if Maz and I had been having this conversation a month before he went into the hospital, this would not be the conversation we would have been having. You, I don't believe would have been this honest, or
no, I would not have been.
Let me say this, and I'm not trying to discount you or dismiss you. Yep. But it would be really interesting to know what Jamie's take on this is, because one thing I learned as the spouse is that addicts really know what to say.
Yep.
To make it sound good.
And so, she'd sit here and tell you, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many excuses of, well, I'm quitting. Today I'm quitting. I'm not drinking today. And then I'll have a couple beers when the kids go to bed. And she's like, I thought you weren't drinking today. Or we don't have any alcohol in the house and I will go seek it. Or I'll have one before I get home. Or, and so I'm pretty wish-washy. Yeah. For sure. And there might be part of that I'm trying to convince myself that I can handle it too. So, I don't know where I'm at exactly just yet on that.
So you said that you and when you and Jamie were pregnant, that you stopped on both occasions. How did you manage to do that?
I can go extended period of time without drinking, and I could do a beer for lunch and be fine. Just to give like an example of what one of my triggers is, and there's tons of them, but it can either be really depressing times or it can be celebration times. So the other day I had really good, I work for the Opera House too on the nonprofit side. I had a great day talking with donors on that day. I had a great day of talking with the bank on a vacation rental that I'm trying to remodel that had a pipe burst. So I got a loan approved. I talked to the Allendale JDA. They gave me a grant for that thing. So, and then the PPP money came through so I can keep my salaries going. So all of that financial stuff relieved me in one day. And so it's 3:00 in the afternoon, and guess what? We're going to have beers, and then it's 12 beers later and it's 3 a.m. and I'm sitting there looking at myself like, what am I doing? You can't keep doing this as I'm chugging one down. So I can see those triggers, but I haven't been able to stop them completely. But yeah, so I mean, if I went over a year without drinking before, also when we weren't in pregnancy, and it's just, I can do it. It just, when it's triggers, when that trigger happens, it just happens. And then, like I said, the wheels fall off, and it's almost like I can't control it, even though I'm like, well, don't have 8 beers, just have 2. Well, and then I'm 6 in and I'm hating myself, so, those things happen less and less now, where it used to be maybe twice a week, the wheels would fall off. Now it's once a month. I would completely agree. If Jamie was sitting here, she says, well, that's still too often. I agree with that. And so if that still is happening, then, the decision has to be made on the quit. And, it is a big issue between Jamie and my relationship when those things happen. She definitely doesn't want to be around me when those things are happening. Again, it's that I can't trust what you're saying is truthful. So I don't know if I answered that properly.
No, you absolutely.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 2 things.
I have to admire your honesty too, to be honest. Yeah. We'll address that one right there.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not honest, I can't grow, and that's kind of what I look at it is the more I talk about it, the more I feel I'm growing, and the more I'm learning versus just sticking my head in the sand and like, there's no problem here. I have to address it.
So I'm thinking of a guest that we had on actually Christmas Eve morning who talked. She has written a book. Her name's Delane Shea, and she talked about the fact that she actually didn't drink that much, but she thought about it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And so for her, that was addiction.
Yep.
She was rarely, if ever, drunk. And I'd never heard that before because my experience is so limited. And I have lived through a test case of one with alcohol.
Yeah.
So, one thing I have really learned, and we've talked about this so often, is that while the symptoms of addiction are very similar, the journey and the individual's experience with it is unique. So I'm wondering if you feel like, I mean, if the wheels are coming off once a month, I agree, that's not great, but once a month is not every single day. I mean, I didn't know what you were going to answer that question with.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're thinking about it all the time? Is it in
No.
your mental space?
No, well, not as of today. I would say the last 2 months have been really good, and I've been healthy habits, good with it. Before that, I would say, let's say 6 months ago, my day would be consumed. Well, pardon the pun, but consumed with, so in the morning, hungover, don't drink today. Starting to feel better around noon. Start thinking about, okay, so am I going to go to this grocery store and get this beer, or am I going to get that beer for tonight? And, thinking about where I'm going to get it, so do I have enough in the fridge? Let's see, I got a 6-pack. No, I don't think that's going to last the night. So constantly thinking about it through the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then my days, some days I'd cut out at, I'm self-employed. So I can pretty much come and go as I please and make my own schedule. So some days it'd be 5 o'clock. A lot of my work is about 30 miles away from Allendale to 40. So, 5 o'clock, pop a beer, drive home, which is not a healthy habit either. Well, that 5 o'clock started turning into 4 o'clock, and then it started turning into 3 o'clock. And then it's, well, let's have a beer for lunch today, and then we'll go back to work, and then not going back to work. And so, yeah, I would say I was in the thralls of that, of constantly thinking about it, more than 5 days a week, so almost the whole week would be thinking about when I'm going to start. And especially home on weekends when you're not busy,
Yep.
It's a nice summer afternoon, and you're doing a little yard work and you got the radio going, so yeah. And we in my household, we haven't had per se hard liquor in the house for a couple of years. If we had a bottle of whiskey in that cabinet, it wouldn't last more than a week. I'd a little pull here, a little pull there. So we just got rid of the hard alcohol. So then some days that would turn into, if I couldn't have that little bump of a shot with a beer, well, then I just chug a beer and then have another beer,
Sure.
So like I said, it's been a while since I've been there, but I know it very easily could get back to that point if I'm not consciously thinking about it. And, going back to the thinking about drinking all day long, I feel I'm in a good place because I'm not thinking about drinking all day long anymore,
So how did you do this? How did you go from 6 months ago thinking about it 24 hours a day, almost every day of the week, to today? So we're talking about it now. You're clearly thinking about it now because we're forcing your hand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like, why won't you get off this call and think, well, that was great. I'm going to have a beer to start the day.
And I might, and this definitely is going to be a trigger for me because I'm a performer. I'm a musician. So, you drink more when you get off stage because how do you wind down? Yeah. And this is a stage for me. And so this is a public appearance. So I'm going to be hyped up after this and think, well, geez, maybe it'd be nice to have a little bit of something in my coffee after we're done. But I know that I got to do work. I know that it's not acceptable to my family if I'm not present, if what I consider numbing out. So, they're big on pushing that. And even though they're not pushing it on me, it's in my mind that I'm doing it for them. I have a lot of balls that I'm juggling, and when I'm not present, I can't juggle the balls. I'm a little bit fearless in things where maybe it's not, I'm not smart enough to be afraid of things, but if I want to start something, I just start. If I want to start a music production company, which I did, I just start doing it. And so it was really one of those, and Jamie and I have been in couples therapy for a while. We on and off for a few years now, and it's always a reoccurring topic is my drinking, and so being that I'm not wanting to completely let go of it at this point, it's what I have to do to be able to maintain, and again, I might have to completely quit. That's probably in the cards for me, because I have all the things of alcoholics, of it's in my family, childhood trauma, started drinking at an early age, all those things. I'm the petri dish for alcoholic. But yeah, so it's just kind of realizing that there's an issue there, and if I'm not completely controlled by it at this point, so if I don't stop making the better decisions in my life, then it will be too far gone.
So apart from when you go to counseling, do you and Jamie actually just sit down and talk about this like you're talking to us?
We talk more about how we interact in our relationship, and not so much about my addiction. It's just kind of touched on, like what might be the roadblock in our relationship, of why she doesn't feel close to me. And it's, we talk about those times when I might have a couple beers before we sit down for dinner, and she can tell immediately, and that I'm not necessarily present. I may be a little bit more actively talkative. I might be saying some things that, aren't typical things that I would talk about or commit to. And so she just wants to check out and have nothing to do with me. So we talk about those things. We don't necessarily talk about where I'm at in my addiction and where I'm trying to work on. It's been suggested that I seek out therapy just on my own stuff, which I haven't done yet, but that's definitely in the plans for me. It's one of the things why I joined your other group, is because that's kind of a start for me of getting over the hurdle of my junk. And then maybe I'll have a long-term therapy. I don't know if it's going to be addiction based, or if it's going to be more of those based on the trigger side of what makes that happen.
So here's another question. This was one of the hardest ones I ever had to answer. So when you're having a conversation, how much do you listen? I mean, honestly, listen.
I'm horrible at listening. I really am. I mean, I'm always pulling my own string. And when can I talk next? When can I talk next? When can I talk next? I'm again with this journey that I've gone on. I've progressed my listening skills in the last 2-3 months more than I have my whole life. And I think it's with those audiobooks. One book I can think of is How to Make Friends and Influence People. Even though I didn't enjoy the writing, but I enjoyed the message. Right. It was a hard book to get through, but I think I understood what was trying to be said. It's books like that. The Girl Wash Your Face. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah. Or Get Out of Your Own Way. I kind of got into those books. Those are great books too, of more on the relationship side and the active listening. But yeah, so I'm a talker. Love to, just when's my turn next?
You're a performer.
I'm a performer, and
it's really hard to shake that quality.
Absolutely.
And to shut it off when you exit whatever the stage is. Shakespeare's All the World's a Stage is not lost on those of us who really do wish we were constantly in performance mode. Mm-hmm. Justin, this is so fascinating to me because I'm listening to you intellectually explain yourself. And I'm thinking about, so I'm working with a coach right now on some this personal systems disruption stuff.
Yep.
And so I had a session with her yesterday, and she asked me a pretty basic question. And I sort of had one of those out of body experiences where I watched myself intellectually explaining till the cows came home, why this worked and why this didn't, and what I knew I needed to do, but wasn't there yet. And, you know, what I really want to say to both you and me is, I don't believe it. Like you, and wow, okay. I'm not a trained therapist.
No,
I don't know anything about addiction beyond what I have lived with, but I'm going to tell you, I don't believe you can manage this. I don't believe you can.
I don't know that I can either. I completely agree.
And just like I don't believe that I can continue to intellectualize what I want to do and have it work. I either have to go all in or all out. I don't think it's straddleable. And I'll tell you this, as someone who I don't believe does struggle at all with addiction, if I have a glass of wine at 4:30, let's say every day for 3 days, on day 4, around 3:30, I start to think, could I have that glass of wine now? I mean, I can't believe how fast it becomes not only comfortable, but starts to hone in on
Normal.
on my day and on my normal. Absolutely.
Because for the start of that, you feel relaxed and in control, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and it feels sophisticated, and it's
does.
fun to know something about alcohol, and it's fun to feel like you're in a financial situation where, of course, I have a beautiful bottle of rosé in my refrigerator, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
That all feels like we've arrived. So please don't hear me telling you what is or is not true. Because I'm not doing that.
I mean, it does make you feel sophisticated. I've talked about this a couple of times. And if you look at the YouTube videos of Johnny Walker Blue Label, the ad campaign they've got with, what's his name?
Is it Jude Law?
Jude Law. And your man who was the French guy in some of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. They have bets for a bottle of this stuff. And one of them was, you know, get me to dance. And it's so freaking sophisticated and sexy. You just sit there going, damn. Yeah. Wish I was drinking.
Yeah, it
Johnny
makes
Walker
me want to
Blue
drink
Label.
it. I don't
Absolutely, yeah.
It's $300 a bottle. I'll have some of that.
Yeah. So I think it's just such an interesting conversation, because as we know and talk about so often, alcohol is your thing. My work is my thing. Somebody else's thing is that they shop too much, or whatever it is. But we all try to rationalize it. And in some cases, the smarter we are, or the more we know, the harder it is, because we can talk around ourselves in really smart ways.
Yep.
And we think that covers it, and it's just not covering it.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the non-alcoholic stuff that we have started thinking about, because I'm curious to know if, as someone who feels like you're kind of a beer guy, if this would resonate for you. So talk about the hairless dog stuff.
So this company, they're from the Twin Cities. The two of them decided they weren't alcoholic. They just decided, I think they had young kids, and they decided, I'm done, I'm out. But I like the taste of beer.
Good beer.
Like IPAs and things like that. So they made a company that makes completely non-alcoholic beer, and it tastes fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's a lager, there's an IPA, there's a stout.
There's a coffee stout.
There's 6 kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any of
I've been buying this company called Athletic Brew.
Oh yeah.
And so they do the same. You know, they have a IPA, they have a what would be like a Corona,
Okay.
They have a stout, and all of them are fantastic. So yes, I have purchased that. And if, I really feel like I need to have a hamburger and an IPA, I'll grab one of those, especially if it's, big thing for me is like, let's not drink through the week.
Huh?
Let's appropriate our consumption with a social situation, or if we go out to dinner, or if we're going to pair, but if you want to have a beer in the middle of the afternoon while you're mowing the lawn, here's what you can have, and that's good. My thought of that is why am I faking it? And is this just taking me to the next step to want to have more of the real beers? It hasn't thus far, again, as you said, I could be lying to myself. I have this under control.
I know some people that won't drink non-alcoholic beer because they're afraid of having another beer, but I think I'm all right because I never really drank beer. When I drank like Jim Beam or any other cheap bourbon I can get. So having a non-alcoholic beer for me is it's fine. Yeah. And I don't crave a real beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's a difference. But I will say, as the spouse, I mean, you drink a lot of non-alcoholic beer. And so I think, to your point, Justin, it's not about the alcohol, but I know you say there's no such thing as an addictive personality, but I do think there are addictive tendencies. We all
Absolutely
have, many of us struggle with them. Ask me how many mugs of tea I drink a day. I'm not being judgy of this. I'm just saying. And I think you do sort of have how many non-alcoholic beers do I have left in the refrigerator? I got to go get more.
Yeah, because I just, it's relaxing. It makes a difference from coffee or diet sodas.
Yeah. And we don't have anything. Well, I say with sugar in it. I mean, how much sugar is in beer? But yeah, we don't do sodas. We don't do juice boxes. We don't, any of that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, Justin, I guess my last question for you, unless you have anything to add, is just what's your next step?
Well, I'm going to seek out, a therapist just to work on my own stuff, and then see where it goes. If the wheels keep coming off, then I'm gonna seek, maybe an outpatient, maybe whatever, because the audiobooks and the podcasts apparently aren't doing the work that needs to be done. So that might be the next step. But right now, it's just, if I can maintain social setting, drinking, not just sitting around feeling sorry for myself, getting wasted, and worrying about my own stuff, that's the next step. Is if I can keep doing what I'm doing and improving, that's the direction we'll go. And if it doesn't improve, then we gotta make some major decisions in my life to correct that. Hopefully Jamie sticks around long enough to be supportive of those decisions, which she has, and we touch base and talk about those things, and that work on my own stuff and see where we go.
Well, let me just say this from my perspective, and I hope that Jamie sees this. If she can stay through it and you can get this figured out, life on the other side is so much better than any drink you are ever going to have. And I say that as someone who occasionally still, I just said to you the other day, sometimes I'm still sad we can't share a nice bottle of wine together. Yeah. There's not a bottle of wine on the planet I would trade for this. Nothing. There's just nothing I would trade. So there are things you have to give up to reunite that relationship and to finally let go of the stronghold of alcohol. No doubt about it. Yep. But wow, the what you get really outweighs any perfect pairing. It's all I can say. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that sums it up completely, actually.
Justin, thanks for coming on.
Oh, you bet. I appreciate you guys and having me on.
With everything.
And let us know if there's anything that we can do for either one of you. Again,
absolutely.
we're just one couple, but
Yeah, I mean, if you
we
ever
have
want to,
been through it.
if you ever want to throw any ideas out there about how to manage anything, give us a shout. I'd be
I will
delighted.
do. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Wow. Best of luck, Justin.
All right, thank
Really,
you.
best of luck.
Great to
We'll
meet
take,
you.
we'll
You
see you
take
soon.
Yeah,
care.
you too. We'll see you. Thanks.
Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.